So, apparently this is a problem. Ever since Granblue Fantasy Versus, I've heard that simple inputs restrict expression in fighting games. But why is that? Are people thinking that simple inputs restrict them? Why can't a game with simple inputs be fun? Are there examples of simple input fighting games that are fun, crazy, and expressive? Well, that's what I intend to answer today. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel.
What is that?
Listen, I know I need a haircut. My hair is all over the place. My hairline is trash. But I'm trying to grow my hair out. Okay, it's a process. I'm sure you can probably guess by now that we're going to be talking about simple inputs or easy inputs, whatever you want to call them, and how apparently they're making fighting games boring, dry, bare bones, whatever. If you don't know what a simple input is, it's basically like a one-way directional input where it's just you hold right and you press the button, you hold left, you press the button, you hold up and you press the button, you hold down and you press the button. Instead of the traditional quarter circle forward, quarter circle back, DP motion type of input. Now on my Twitter, I asked, honest question, why do people think that simple inputs equal an easy or bare bones fighting game? I meant to put fighting game. I saw so much of that in Granblue and DNF Duel, and I got one reply. So hey, if you want to follow my Twitter, because I clearly need it, follow my Twitter. I'll give you a second. Alright, you follow my Twitter? Alright, cool. I know you didn't do that. I know you didn't follow me on Twitter, but if you did, I really appreciate it. Thanks. Anyways, the one response was, simple inputs are objectively easier to accomplish, but that doesn't mean for subsequent levels of play that the game is easier or bare bones. This means new players don't have to learn quarter circle forward, half circle backs, and DP motions, and the time it takes to do a quarter circle forward isn't in consideration anymore. And I agree. However, people seem to think that just because a game has one directional motions, it just means the game is dry, bare bones, very simple, or whatever. There seems to be this thing about simple inputs that are looked down upon because they apparently take away expression. And today what I want to do is to see if this is somewhat true and look at games with simple inputs in them. We're only going to be looking at games with one directional special moves, so games like Fantasy Strike, Granblue Fantasy Versus, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, and DNF Duel. I'm sure there's others out there, but I'm just not aware of them, so if there's any other games that have simple inputs in them, please let me know in the comment section down below. So I guess for the first one, I'm going to talk about Fantasy Strike. Now, Fantasy Strike, I have no damn idea what that game is about. I never played it. I don't really plan on playing it, and I barely seen footage of it. But for the video, I looked at it up a little bit, and the combos seem very simple. That game doesn't even have crouching for starters, but there is some, there's a little bit of mix up. The game does seem very slow, very easy. It's literally it looks like a game that's literally designed for beginners, and I'm not really sure what the game's about. I'm not gonna pretend to be an expert on Fantasy Strike. I have no idea what the hell that game is. I have no idea what that game is. I have no idea what it's about, and I don't really know the mechanics. I know there's like Yomi cancel or something like that. From what I saw from combo videos and guides and tips videos and things like that, the game does seem very, very simple, very not that much to worry about. So for that one, I'll give you a point, Twitter. That game does seem pretty bare bones. I could be wrong. I'm sorry, Fantasy Strike players, if I'm roasting your game or whatever. Like I said, I'm not claiming to know about Fantasy Strike. I have no idea what that game is, so I could be wrong. But moving on to games that I have played, let's talk about Granblue Fantasy Versus. Now this is the one that really started it all for me, at least from what I started to hear about complaining about simple inputs, was for Granblue Fantasy Versus. Now this game has simple inputs like directional special moves. It does have traditional quarter circle forward, blah 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 blah. It does have traditional inputs, and it has both of them at once. Now the big difference between a simple input and a traditional input is the cooldown. For example, if you want to do a fireball with like Gran, you would notice that if you do the traditional quarter circle forward input, the fireball would come back immediately. It would be an instant recovery for your fireball. However, if you do the input with just a special move or the simple input, the fireball would take time to come back. That is the actual benefit of doing a traditional input versus a simple input in Granblue Fantasy Versus. The cooldown charges a lot faster. Now this also applies to EX moves. While the cooldown isn't instant for traditional inputs, it is a lot faster compared to a simple input EX move. But a big thing that a lot of people seem to have a very big problem with, myself included, is one button DPs. This is a very, very touchy mechanic in a lot of fighting games, because a lot of people say that, DPs or reversals shouldn't be hidden behind short U inputs or whatever. I've heard that before. Yes, I have. And I understand short U inputs can be kind of confusing for newer players. It is something you do practice. It's not as simple as doing a quarter circle forward. There is a little bit of practice that you have to put into to do a short U input, especially for games that have weird wake up timings like Guilty Gear Strive. Like, it was, for some reason, it was so hard to get a DP or a wake up super in Guilty Gear Strive pre-patch. I have no idea why. The frame window was so small to get a reversal. So a lot of people are saying that one button inputs are okay, or I'm sorry, one button DPs are a thing that should stay, so everybody can have a DP, or everybody has a defensive option or whatever that's not locked behind execution. For example, a very big culprit of this, it was my character Lancelot. Now, Lancelot didn't have a traditional DP. He had a reversal teleport, an invincible teleport that he could use to escape. Now, this teleport had 3 different follow-ups. It either had a charge where he basically did a DP and slammed the ground, which is very punishable on block. He could do a JU and bait an anti-air, or he could just do any type of air normal. He could do his double hitting overhead. More than likely that's what he's gonna do. And then it got developed over time that you can, whiff JM into an empty low. There's a lot of things you can do off of it, but a very big thing about that move is that you could fuzzy it, basically meaning that you could do it while down backing. You could basically just keep mashing on it while you were blocking, so there was no risk to doing it, and as soon as there was a gap, it would just come out. And that's what a lot of people get annoyed at, is that when you're doing a lot of pressure and you're really locking somebody down, they could just hold down back and mash the button, and as soon as there's like even a little bit of a gap, the move will come out and they'll be free. Now, this was changed in a patch. Now you actually have to hold down to do the actual move to come out. You can't fuzzy it anymore, and a lot of people are happy about that. But the thing with these games is that it's very easy to do one button inputs, and it gets annoying, but at the same time, people like one button DPs because they are able to, everybody has a reversal option. But at the same time, since everybody does have a reversal option that is very easily accessible, it is a lot more likely that they're more willing to mash it and abuse it, which basically means you get more chances to punish them and blow them the hell up. So this is a big topic of debate. I'm not here to debate if one button DPs should be a thing. I'm here to talk about simple inputs and expression. And talking about expression, let's talk about the biggest example of that: Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. Now, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, that's a crazy game. Would you believe me, that entire combo that you just watched was only made up of 3 directional inputs? Power Rangers Battle for the Grid is the biggest example that you could possibly have of a game that doesn't need traditional inputs to be very fun and exciting and expressive. I can go on all day. Power Rangers is literally the game that's not very execution heavy, but looks like it's execution heavy as hell. That game looks like you gotta do like a million inputs, a million quarter circles, do all these crazy things, but you're really only holding right, down, left, right. That's all you're doing. Now, if you don't know, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid is a team-based fighting game, so usually these are traditionally more faster, more crazy, more combo ability, because they're versus games. They're kind of meant to be that way. And as you can see, they're quite crazy. You can literally get TODs out of every character. Has like a TOD. You can get TODs off of anything. There's tons of mix-up. There's freaking OTGs. There's there's everything that you would see in a very execution-heavy fighting game like SNK, like an SNK game, you would find in Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. And it's very easy to get into, very fun, very simple, as you just saw. There's literally only, this game only has simple inputs, by the way. There is no traditional inputs. It's purely simple inputs in this game. They have found a very nice blend of having very easy to pick up execution while having very high level combo ability, very good fun and expressive stuff. It's not just combos, there's mix-ups, there's team synergies, there's tons of things. Power Rangers is a very great game. The only reason I don't really play Power Rangers is because I never liked Power Rangers. But if you put the mechanics of this game, or the way this game is built, into any other franchise that I like, bro, I am all over this game. And even then, I might give this game a chance, honestly. It has rollback, it has crossplay, it has great combos, it's very easy to pick up. This game seems like a banger. and not a traditional input in sight. This is literally the biggest example of a game that doesn't need traditional inputs, or a game that doesn't let simple inputs make it dry or bare bones. Now the final game that has simple inputs, and is another game that I've heard a lot of stuff when it comes to simple inputs, is DNF Duel. This is not even a game that has come out yet, but it has had a beta that we played on the channel, so you can check out those videos if you want. And DNF Duel was another game that has really crazy combos. Not as much as Power Rangers. Power Rangers is its own beast, but DNF Duel does have pretty crazy combos. The special moves felt powerful, they felt strong, they felt meaty, and that's what really made that game really satisfying. Also with the sound effects, but we're not talking about sound effects. Now for when people found the beta, for example, a character was Striker, Ranger, Crusader, those characters had crazy combo ability. I mean, most characters could get counter hits and do like 50% damage off of nearly anything. So that game was also pretty crazy. The walk speed and the jump speed is kind of sluggish and a little bit slow, because I feel you're kind of meant to move around your special moves. The special moves have so much range of motion, especially characters like Hitman and such, and Vanguard, and that might be tweaked. The walk speed, the running speed, and all that could be tweaked by final release. We only played one beta, and that game got announced for summer 2022, so there's quite a bit of time left. But DNF Duel is another example of a game that has very satisfying moves, a lot of combo ability. From what we've seen so far, we don't know yet, you only played the beta, but from what people found, there seems to be a lot of combo ability, especially characters like Striker, Ranger, etc. Very fun, very expressive gameplay. It didn't feel like everybody was playing the same, everybody was playing a lot different. But that game is very underdeveloped. We're in like day negative 200 or whatever. But that's honestly another great example of a game that doesn't need traditional inputs to be fun. And there are traditional inputs in DNF Duel compared to Power Rangers Battle for the Grid that doesn't have any traditional inputs. DNF Duel does have traditional inputs if you wish to try them, or if you wish to use them. There are benefits. For example, if you use traditional inputs, your MP bar fills up faster, and I've heard a couple things thrown around. I heard that MP regenerates faster. I've heard that you don't use MP. I've heard that you use less MP. It's pretty much the same as Granblue Fantasy Versus. There are benefits to using the traditional input, but the game isn't punishing you super hard for doing the simple input. And that's pretty much all the games that I know that have very simple inputs and are one-directional inputs and all these things. And honestly, I don't get what this whole thing is about simple inputs and how they're ruining games and how they're making it boring and dry and whatever. Don't blame the inputs. Blame the actual game mechanics that are restricting you, like auto combos, low combo limits, etc, etc. Because honestly, a game could have one-way directional inputs and still be insanely crazy and insanely high damage, insanely crazy stuff, crazy bullshit, tons of combos. Just look at Power Rangers as a great example, and DNF Duel is shaping up to be another example of a game that doesn't need traditional inputs to be very fun. And that's pretty much it for today, guys. What do you guys think about traditional inputs? How do you feel about them? What do you think about them? Do you think they affect the expression or the fun of any fighting game at all? Let me know in the comment section down below. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, peace.